Have you ever wondered what a genuine week in the life of a seven-figure entrepreneur looks like? A really busy business owner who's off out and about doing different things, also doesn't have a giant team doing everything for them, who's stuck in the trenches, solving problems, out there meeting people, doing all the work, actually engaging on social media and doing everything, but yet still somehow running a productive business and also having a genuine life at the same time. Because the biggest question that I always get asked is, how do you find the time to do everything? As you know, if you've been following my channel, I run 6 businesses, and therefore I need to be so efficient with my time so that I can maximize productivity. So I've decided to create this series called How I Spend My Time, to show you every single week exactly how I spend my time building my business, networking with people, creating content, and just trying to actually live my life. And here's the first week, so I hope you like it. So let me start off with an overview of how I think the week's gone. And in some ways, I feel like the week has been not productive at all. I've been really busy meeting people this week. I've done so many in-person things, which has been fabulous, but it means I haven't really got through my to-do list. So I've been busy doing events, having in-person meetings, but I haven't really managed to spend much time at my desk, creating content, answering emails, and feeling like I'm not checking off the to-do list. So let's break down exactly what I've done this week and see if I actually was productive. I think a good place to start is, what have I actually achieved? Because I think that there's this feeling of busyness instead of productivity, and I want to actually look at the outcomes as well. What has been achieved this week? So let me think about what I would consider an achievement this particular week. Well, first of all, I've managed to record 3 episodes of my podcast, No Bullshit Talks, this week, which is usually quite difficult to organise because I have to bring a guest in, schedule them in. So getting 3 in a week and I release them on a weekly basis is a great achievement for me. I had beautiful founders lunch for Knobs at Hakkasan, which is a Michelin star restaurant, an unbelievable turnout, and the dinner next week is also sold out. So that's great. So on top of that, my TEDx event for next week is also sold out, and organise all of that, as well as organise all my meetings and events for when I head to the US next week as well. So it's obviously busy next week as well, but I had to be planning for that. And that's all been booked out. So I feel very comfortable about the fact that I've got lots of things planned all next week and it's all organised. I've made huge progress on getting my custom chessboard design. This is something I've wanted to do for a long time, and I've got some huge announcement to make soon, but I'm really excited about that, but massive progress on that, so I'm really looking forward to it. I've also managed to film a few YouTube videos, so I stayed ahead of the curve, so when I'm traveling in America next week, I don't have to be trying to stop and find time to film content, so I feel good about that. And also lots of wedding planning as well, so bear in mind that I'm also running these businesses, but I'm also getting married in a couple of months, so I've been planning that as well. So I've had lots of time this week planning the wedding, organising things, so it's been super exciting. So all in all, actually, when I think about it, it is a productive week. If I managed to achieve all of those things in one week, I'd say that's a pretty productive week. So let's break down the actual hours spent, because why do I feel like I haven't been productive at all? So let's start off with the Knobs lunch, because that took up so much of the time. It was a great leisurely lunch, so many fantastic conversations, beautiful food, free-flowing champagne, but we were there for about 3.5 hours, and then I had travel time and setup time either way, so that's about 1 hour and 20, so therefore it's about 5 hours of my time on the Knobs lunch. That's basically most of that day. As I said, I recorded 3 podcast episodes. So the podcast episodes, if I include, because I film everything myself, so I set everything up myself, I don't have an assistant, so if I count setting it up, each episode takes about 2 hours, including filming time, networking with my guest, and setting up, packing away, plus travel time there and back. That's 9 hours we're looking at for the 3 podcast episodes. Then I had 3 coffee meetings this week, so 3 of them added up, that's just about 4 hours. I had about 2.5 meetings of Zoom calls, 2 other hours of client calls. And then for my chess lessons this week, I had about 7 hours taken up from the school chess coaching, and then about 5.5 hours taken up from my private chess coaching. And then I had some exciting social events this week. So I got to spend an evening with Sarah Fabergé of the Fabergé Egg, and got to have like a private viewing of some of the jewelry, some of the limited edition eggs, and then got to meet Sarah, have a great conversation with her. So that was a brilliant event. And then also I went to the theatre. I got to see Book of Mormon, which was absolutely brilliant, by the way. So funny, totally worth going. So that was probably about 8 hours of my week on social activities, plus also drinks with friends and everything like that. So that's probably another 4 to 6 hours of drinking and hanging out with friends. So yeah, lots of different things this week. So let's look at the nitty gritty bits of the work. So this is where I get stuck in at my desk, and that's why I say I felt like it wasn't as much as usual. So here are the breakdown of how I spent at my desk. So YouTube videos, first of all, I spent 1 hour 46 on the scripting. I spent 1 hour 38 filming. And I spent 1 hour 8 minutes reviewing. Then my other podcast, Sniffing Out the Bullshit, I spent 1 hour 19 minutes doing some scripting for that. Didn't actually film this week because I got super busy, so I'm behind. So next week I'm gonna have to do more catch up for that. I spent 2 hours 12 minutes on admin, 59 minutes on social media, and 2 hours 34 minutes on event planning. So this is why I feel like I didn't do as much this week, but that brings me to a total of 54 hours and 56 minutes of work. Now, if you think about it, standard work, I'm doing Monday to Friday here. So standard work hours are like 40 hours a week. And actually, I included about 8 hours of social activities in that. So we can scrap that. So really it's 48. So actually I'm doing pretty standard work week there. And I don't feel productive. So then what does that say? But let's look at making sure I'm also getting enough sleep. So this week I actually totaled 36 hours and 25 minutes of sleep from Monday to Friday. So it's about an average of 7 hours per night, which I think is decent. I like to try and get 8 hours of sleep per night, but 7 to 9 is a good amount of hours. It was super busy, getting up early and like coming back and, you know, being tired after the event. So it was a little bit unorthodox week, but 7 hours of sleep a night, I'm pretty happy with that. And I managed to get 3 hours and 19 minutes of reading in. Like I said, I love reading, so that was during the week as well. So I've managed to find time to read my books. That's both fiction and non-fiction. So I generally like to read non-fiction in the day and fiction in the evening before I go to bed. And so I've worked out, I've basically had about 25 hours of personal time this week, which is probably quite a lot for me. So that's probably why I also feel like I haven't really achieved much, because I spent a lot of time doing things for myself personally. So this week I've had to do things like go to the GP and kind of like think about some health things that I'm concentrating on. So that took up a bit of time. But as I said, I spent a lot of time doing wedding planning, which was really exciting. I had drinks with friends, which was really nice. I spent a lot of time with my dog walking Bella, which was so good for me, and just cleansing, like tidying up my flat, organizing things, getting rid of a few things. I'm trying to minimize and prepare for, you know, married life and prepare what the new flat's going to look like, all that sort of stuff. So been kind of doing that this week, which has been really lovely. And also got in my usual several hours of TV. Now, most people think that you shouldn't be watching TV if you're trying to run a business. I hear so many people talk about how they don't watch TV because it doesn't help them with their business. So many successful people just don't watch TV. I watch probably about 15 hours of Netflix every single week. So this week I started watching Welcome to Wrexham, pretty much finished the first season already. I've watched a few movies. I've watched that new Statham movie, which was quite like The Working Man. It was a bit like The Beekeeper meets Taken, very strange. Only okay, but I love Statham. Also watched The Accountant again because I am going to the cinema later to watch The Accountant too. So again, off to the movies, doing different stuff. So yeah, like I think that it's a different approach, but I love watching Netflix. It's good quality time with my partner as well, while we're relaxing on the sofa together, and you know, we just enjoy watching movies. I watch some by myself just to relax and just escape from things. I break up my day sometimes with an episode of something to take a break. So I love watching TV, and I don't see anything wrong with it. So the question is, why do I feel so unproductive? I guess it's because I haven't really sat at my desk much this month. I've been out every single day, super busy, running around, meeting loads of different people. But what I have done is I've solidified relationships. I've become I've actually met up with people that I haven't seen for a while and built on those business relationships, which I really want to build on. So I've made progress towards my goals. And that's more important than just sitting off and checking a to-do list. So I do want to do things differently next week because I think there needs to be a balance. I'm going to do fewer things in person and actually try to get some stuff done, catch up with things, And I'm making a bit more of a commitment to try and do content. And I know I've been really big on saying I want to build these in-person connections, but I do think that you also need to back it up by making sure you can create good content, that you are creating a personal brand. I think it does accentuate your in-person connections, even though that will be a priority. But I am going to spend a bit of time this week making sure that my content and things are documented for my week like this and showing what I'm up to each week so people can see. I wanted to break down a realistic way of how I spend my time each week. And I know that lots of people show their week in their lives, it's really glamorous. And don't get me wrong, this week has been pretty glamorous, like eating out in Michelin star restaurants, going to the Four Seasons and spending a night with Sarah Fabergé. It has been pretty glamorous, really, but also I've been in the trenches, I've been doing stuff, I've been running around London, I've been, going everywhere and getting my head stuck down. And so I really want to show every week how I actually spend my time so you can see people's balance and you can see that it's not always glamorous lifestyle, it's not always stress and hard work. It should be a mix between the two. And I'm going to show you what a productive week looks like, what an unproductive week looks like, and shows you how your mindset works with it, because I thought I wasn't productive, but when I look at actually the outcomes, turns out I had a pretty damn good week. So I have to go back and reflect on what made it a good week. I do believe it's because I built those connections and there were long-term, relationships I'm re-solidifying, which is why things were able to speed up much quicker. But now next week I'm going to have a very different week, so hopefully it should be a different set of insights for you. And I hope you do enjoy this series, and if there's anything you want me to deep dive into, just let me know.